Welcome friends, I'm Wavy and we are back once more for the beginner's walkthrough playthrough. Now this episode is going to be a little different than the previous ones. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do this because a lot of the content here in the UNISG playthrough is recycled. We've been to nearly every place they want us to go except Lab X18. So I decided I would take a page out of Mitten Squad's book and do a scripted video going over what we did. Right, first things first, we need what every stalker needs, money. And Dushman mentioned something about highly paid work, so we talked to him, talked to a guy named Hog, and Aslan. And we collected up some missions to do crap, like hunt mutants, and murder monolith soldiers. But luckily, I made a friend along the way, Danko Glue. Mr. Glue and I continued to do some work from Dushman. I spent all of my money on a merc suit for disguise purposes, and eventually had enough of this. And decided to grab some bullets and make our way over to the first lab, Lab X16. This lab is in Yantar, but it's also right next to Dead City, which ended up being our de facto base for the meantime. All we had to do was head south in Dead City, and that was it. Also, before we left, I put on my merc suit, but I had to make sure that Mr. Glue couldn't see me, otherwise it doesn't work. I don't know why that is, just, word to the wise. In Yantar, I got immediately decimated by Snorks, but it's okay. Luckily, I bought a shotgun before we left, so I was able to at least try to survive, and survive I did. Inside Lab X16, I got killed by the bloodsucker at the beginning. Second time around, he wasn't so lucky. He actually got stuck, so, sucks to suck. One happy quick save later, I continued on through the lab, killed more Snorks, tied to bloodsuckers again, got a crazy bolt shrew on a Snork right here, and then we went about finding our special documents. Oh and yeah, we turned off the miracle machine just because I could. One more absurd bolt shrew, and we turned off the miracle machine, just to have a bureau spawn almost next to us. It wasn't all that bright though. The controller that spawned over here was also light work, and we went and grabbed the documents right here on the floor. On the way out, Danko managed to kill the pseudo-giant, and I saved an ecologist from a controller. After this, I decided, hey, I'm right next to Agroprom, so why not do the Agroprom Underground as well? So off I went, killed a small family of Snorks and Fractures, and went to the underground from the space restrictor outside the base. Now remember that disguise I mentioned, the merc suit? Luckily, bandits and mercs are buddies, so I didn't have to shoot anybody in the Agroprom Underground. I did have to make a quick dip though because that suspicion meter filled up fast. I somehow managed to not die to the 2 Psysuckers and the 1 bloodsucker. But we went up to Strelok's hideout, grabbed these military documents, and we were all set. I decided to go back out the way I came in, which resulted in this crazy shot. I had to make sure I hit him because I was using slugs, ran out of buckshot. With the mutants repurposed as decorations, we got out of the underground and tried to figure out what to do next. I saw this red stash icon on the map, and that I think was left by one of the UN guys. Curiosity had the best of me, so I went to go take a look. Got mauled by cats when first arriving in Cordon, and then contemplated how a cat has 2 thyroids. Over at the stash, we ended up with some serious gear, an artifact application module and lead line container. Yes, sir. This made me quickly wrap myself back to Dead City to stash this stuff in my secret backpack. Shh, it's a secret. Afterwards, I realized I needed more supplies, and Dushman was fresh out. So, I went back to the Jupiter Underground passage where Mouse was. He had plenty of everything, and actually it was pretty cheap too. Well worth the trip out here if you guys don't use the debug menu to spawn on space restrictors like me. You can also ask him to take you to the underground level where the rest of the UN soldiers are, so you don't have to make the whole trip again. I wanted to come down here to talk to the Major, as I was hoping he'd take the documents I have, but he wouldn't. And so that means we have to get them all first, which kinda stinks a little bit. But he was kind enough to drop me off outside in the Pripyat outskirts, which was very helpful because there is another lab here we have to visit. There's also a mercenary base that we have to visit as well. It doesn't hurt to have another trader to buy bullets from. What we actually had to do was meet Griffith here, and he gave us a mission that I was very curious about. Apparently he wants us to search Lab X8, which is what I have to do for the major anyway. I wasn't quite sure how this worked out, but hey, if I could kill two birds with one stone, why not? So I set off for the lab. While in the building fighting zombies, a monolith guy distracted me when I shot him in the face and he was still alive. That allowed a zombie to walk right up to me and kill me with a shotgun. My quick save was also a ways back, and this time around Griffith told me to hunt a mutant, not to search for the lab. Well, okay, he did actually ask me to search the lab when I talked to him some more, but it's an unmarked quest, so I don't know if I'll bother. I wanted to deal with this mutant really quick because it was right here, but it happened to be a controller, and I had no fucking clue where it was. And I didn't have any weed, so I was basically defenseless. After the double vision subsided, I tried again, this time putting a building in between me and where it says the controller is. It worked, and I deposited some lead in the controller for the 3 minutes of wasted time he cost me. Round 2 on the lab, and this time things went a little better. Except for these guys who were literally waiting around the corner for me, scared the shit out of me. I had to go change my shorts. I got killed trying to flank them, but the second time around, I was a little too fast for these punks. After I was done with the monolith, I got up to the top of the building, started the generator, fell down the stairwell, and went into the lab. As I did last time, I started out going to the right, killed the snork that came from the upper levels, and then killed the bureau in the bathroom. I looked on the table in this room, found breadcrumbs. Okay. Then I went back to the dead snork and down this hallway. I tried to throw a grenade at the snorks clipping through the door here, but those pesky bureaus made it float. I searched the one room I found documents in last time, nothing was here. I went down to the lowest level and searched the flooded room. I ended up finding some documents here, there was like 2 of them, before the computer monitor started floating, so I ran away. Here I went into the elevator shaft to climb up and finally see those bureaus. They were being particularly pesky today, even hurting me at one point. I didn't like that, so I hit him with some point-blank buckshot. The documents I believe I was meant to find were up here in this room, along with some supplies, and with the mission complete, I set on my way back out. Of course, a controller was waiting to greet us on the way out, which I also didn't like. I made him meet my shotgun. And after the lab, I went and returned to Griffith just to see what would happen. Turns out, those other 2 documents I found are what he was interested in, and he gave me a cool 14,000 for them, which was nice. After that, it was time to go back home. I slept, restocked on supplies, and now it was time to take on the biggest lab of them all, the Brain Scorcher. I had shotgun shells, 200 plus 5.45 rounds. I think it was enough. But what I wanted to do this time was go through the Red Forest entrance. I made sure to get my disguise on, and I headed into the army warehouses. I met no resistance here, but when I got to the forest, I totally forgot I left my buddy back at Dead City. Don't worry, I fixed that. Not planning on doing the radar alone again. I killed some monolith while they fought some random mutant, and a cat gave me surgery on me bum. I made a beeline to the space restrictor, but then I was confronted with a pseudo-giant. My plan here was to avoid him, and it actually worked. I even managed to get out of an anomaly. Now this way into the radar can be tricky. There's lots of angles for the monolith to attack from, and there's not a bunch of cover for you. But I snuck around the side, walked through some nasty sci field, and once my vision returned, I was quickly under fire. Nearly died from an SVD. And after taking care of the opposition, I stole some money from a few monolith corpses and snuck on into the lab. For some reason, Danko said leave once we walked into the lab, but I don't give a fuck what he thinks, so we continued. One bloodsucker was invisible until it was right next to me, probably should have died there. Another bloodsucker ate my 12 gauge and nearly took my arm off. I managed to survive, but a bandage and Vinca were unable to stop the bleeding. That's okay, I'm made of an unlimited amount of blood. The last bloodsucker got a little confuzzled when I dropped down the ledge, but a shotgun ended his suffering. And then I got to the last room. Now our objective isn't to turn off the brain scorcher. We actually need to just find the documents, but I turned off the machine while I was at it. I died. Almost died again, but somehow this guy didn't kill me. Took most of my bullets with him, stupid exoskeleton. My suit was also completely fucked after that, so I had to switch to the UN one. I met another guy who took every bullet I had in the clip. Then I had a little moment of dread, because I realized I was getting my shit kicked in. I had 2 more medkit uses, and that was it. And remember how many bullets I left with? Well, at this point, I ran through them. I was left to this reserve 60 EP rounds I brought, and that was it. This was really coming down to the wire. I eventually met back up with my boy, and we killed some more monolith guys. I should have died because this monolith guy was standing right next to me and decided not to kill me. I repaid his kindness with a quick death. One more monolith guy with a fucking Nosorog left, and he put a few holes in me. Last medkit, and we made it out. Holy moly. I immediately brought myself back to Dead City. And there you have it, everybody. We just completed almost every lab in the game. But this is where I want to call the episode. Next time, we will be doing the last lab, which I haven't done yet, and probably the rest of the hollow boundaries. But not before I restock everything. I appreciate you guys coming along. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different, a little change of pace. But I will catch you all on the flip. Peace.